So thank you everyone for joining. More people will obviously come in as they join. They can catch up as we progress through the events afternoon. I know getting a full afternoon is sometimes hard to do given the schedules that we have, whether it's modified or not, given the circumstance. And just to point out, and I'm sure many of you would appreciate that we would actually be rather doing this in person, but given the circumstances around us, we make do with what tools we have available to make this hopefully go as smoothly as possible from a workshop point of view, and then be as formative and engaging so that you can get some tangible benefit out of this. So everyone, well, my name is Brian Caron. I'm the Director of Operations and Development of the NeuroHub project. Joining me along with the call here are our development team and other members of our team specifically to NeuroHub, and we'd like to welcome you to the first workshop. We'll have other workshops coming up. This one is really based upon the fundamentals of what is the NeuroHub platform, that we want to have people get some fundamental understanding and basic solid foundation of what's present and what NeuroHub is. Let me just switch to the next slide. So what we're going to do here is, as you'll see, we have a number of modules here. So we'll start by talking about some of the logistics of the workshop in a second. But what we're going to do, and this is going to facilitate the activities for the afternoon, is that the presenters are going to be sharing their screens as well as basically in the side some slide deck. But sometimes it might be more conducive if you have access to a copy of the slide deck. Of course, some of the things that we've been making and changing as part of the slides has been rather dynamic. But we'll provide a link, and I'll paste this into the chat window here so that everybody can see. It's not mandatory that you have it open in a separate window. It's just something that, depending on your screen arrangement and your screen layout, may facilitate learning, and it'll be, like I said, as a reference point throughout. But our instructors will have their screen with the copy of the slides open next to it, to some more of the interactive and live sessions that will be carrying you through the exercises. So again, these are more for, like I said, for sharing. As a reference. So I'll just cut and paste these into the chat. I'll do it, whoops. Do it for the first and all of them here. I thought I did already. Then I'll return this to presentation mode. So bear with us, as I said, we're doing this in an purely online way. So there'll be some, as I said, some logistics things that we have to do a little different compared to a normal in-person workshop. So I just put into the chat window, which everybody should be able to see, direct links to a read-only copy of the slide deck. So the agenda for today, hopefully everyone should have seen and received as part of their registration pointers, not only to the, obviously on how to connect it to the session here, but also references to some of the background information. So you may recall that last week, JB and I provided an introductory seminar last week to users, kind of giving an high-level introduction and over what NeuroHub is, what its objectives are, and what are some of the features and functionalities that are intended to be addressed by the elements within NeuroHub. I won't repeat a lot of that here. I'll just be very briefly getting started. And the emphasis was to provide that link so people can get that foundation. And really, we want to focus today on the hands-on experiential learning associated with the components in NeuroHub. And we're going to focus, as I said, on the fundamentals, things that are at the core of understanding that we want people to walk away from. So for the agenda for today, I'm just going to start, because we're doing this, and not only, even in person, we would have some logistical measures to talk through and go over. I'll cover some of the logistics of how we're going to do this in a remote setting. And then I'll very quickly jump into a quick overview of the introduction of what NeuroHub is. And then it'll be the rest of the team starting to go into more details about different components, those being things such as the NeuroHub user interface and the dashboard, so that web-based interface that'll be talked about by Verena and our team here. And then we'll move into the projects and data handling part. That'll be led by Natasha. And then that section, we'll talk about data input, data output, how to share data. And then around the timing, we expect to have a short physical break of about 15 minutes, depending on how the timing of the exercises go with everyone. And then we'll go on to the final section, which will be also the continuance of what we do with the data, but it's actually then launching tasks. So selecting data, selecting the applications that are within the space, launching those, monitoring them, and accessing the results. And then we'll wrap up very quickly with a conclusion, which also includes a link that I'll share to gather your feedback regarding the workshop, but also things that you would like to see in future training sessions. So that's the agenda for today. So we'll move just to cover some of the logistics pieces. So just a few points, as you can see, as you know, obviously we're using Zoom, everyone's using Zoom extensively now, but one of the things that you should we ask you to do is unless you're speaking, please keep your microphone muted. That helps everyone have a better auditory experience, not only with the sharing the slides, but also hearing the speakers and also hearing anybody who provides any questions or answers to points that get raised. We also ask that, and I think most people have done this already, is that you set your participant name to your first name, last name, just for easier identification, because we know sometimes when you enter a Zoom room, it takes the username from your computer. And at least this way it helps us track in terms of attendance and so on. And there's also a direct correlation between your first name, last name, and as you will see later, some of the accounts that are actually going to be used as part of the workshop. It should be evident from the Zoom settings that are on your screen. We're recording the workshop. It's not for the purposes really of sharing very broadly afterwards, but we want to be able to share it in some formats with the participants who are here today as a follow-up. But really the intention, it's not something that we feel that just by watching the workshop, people get a full view and an in-depth view of what the NeuroHub platform is able to bring to people in their day-to-day research work. But it's really the combination of that together with the hands-on exercises that we think are key. So that's why, as I said, we're recording it to not only gather feedback in terms of how things went from the training point of view, but really is we want people to focus on the hands-on component in conjunction with the material that we're visually showing. But nonetheless, we'll be recording. In terms of questions, as we go through, so obviously in a normal workshop setting in a room, people would raise their hand and ask a question. Here it's a little different. I can only see about 6 of you on the side of my screen at any given time. But to facilitate the opportunity for questions and answers, we just ask if you do have a general question, and I'll address specific situations if you're having trouble with something or if there's an exercise that something's not working for you. That's a different case. But if you have a general question about some element of what we're presenting, please, you can indicate that in the chat window to everyone that you have a question. And then the speaker the presenter can then unmute you and you can then either speak your question, or if you feel, you can just also directly type your question into the main chat window and one of us, the speaker, would be able to address that in as a textual response or verbally. So that's just for general questions. But of course, as you get forward into the exercises, there may be times where you say, well, something's not working right, or it's not showing exactly in your particular trial of the exercise. You need some help. We just ask everyone who needs particular help with an exercise or some other aspect can raise your hand. So if you can raise your hand, I think everyone should be able to know how to raise your hand within Zoom. There's buttons at the bottom that let people raise their hand to indicate that they need some help. And at that point, when your hand is raised, as you can see, hopefully from the participant list, not only do we have the workshop attendees, but we also have a series of helpers, right? Everyone's with their names. Anyone who has their name as helper in brackets is one of the members of the NeuroHub team who can basically assist you when you have a particular need for assistance. So those people will then communicate with you in a direct message chat. And then one thing they'll do is they'll say, okay, great. When we handle that particular request for help, we'll just ask you to lower your hand. So that way we have somebody, then we can kind of allocate the helpers where needed throughout the course of the afternoon. And if we really get into things that we can handle by text dialogue, we also have a series of breakout rooms that we've created within the Zoom environment. We have 4 of these rooms available where, for example, if for some reason you as a participant need to share your screen to have a better view with the person who's helping you to see exactly what you're seeing on your screen, both of you can then go to a specific room. So your helper will say, okay, let's maybe go to room number 1, 2, 3, or 4. And both of you can go there, and then you can do some screen sharing or a different dialogue to get through and resolve the issue at hand. So we have that mechanism for any assistance that's needed. Just go to this other window. And at certain points you'll also see, so that's with regard to issues, but then just even keeping them the pace of the workshop, we want to try and make sure everyone follows along, and we want to leave no attendee behind, right? We want all the exercises to become of value and completed by all the participants, because then we know that we have been able to convey a strong understanding, as I said, of the fundamentals. So they'll see various courses points in time in the afternoon. The instructor will prompt everyone in the audience here to say, okay, has everyone completed exercise number 1, for example, or have you completed this step of number 1? And then people can mark a yes or no, and that we can actually then get a visual representation of where people are at within the step of that particular exercise. And then once we've gathered that information, we can then either say bring people back in so they get caught up, or then we can then keep moving on once everybody's at the same phase. So just be able to familiarize yourself with the different buttons and locations within Zoom so you can indicate your status or if you need any help. Okay. In terms of accounts, one thing that we will be doing, I think several of you have already indicated through the survey of information that was gathered during the event by registration that you have an existing account on NeuroHub. So those can be used for those who have an account. You can use your account. So anything that we have set up for projects or data files within projects have been configured for those existing accounts, but we've also, for the people without accounts already, created workshop accounts that you can be shared, be used by each of the participants, and they follow a specific format. So that's why we also wanted to see everyone's first name, last name. So we've already created those accounts in advance, and they follow a certain naming format. So as shown here on the screen that I'm sharing, you can see if your first name, last name letter combination is AB, your username specifically that you will use later on to sign into the portal and to get connected into the platform will be train_AB. And your password will be the same thing as your username, but with the -B7 attached at the end. Okay, so that's the format we followed for all of them. So you can see out of all the registered attendants, the ones that we have here, now I think there might be a couple of attendees who are observing, so we might have to sort something out a little bit differently for the ones who are observing, but for the registered participants, everyone should be covered in this matrix here that you see in terms of the accounts that are presented. So you can look for your particular account based on your first name, last name, initial combination. And again, the password at the end will be just -B7 together with that train AB. So that full string is what it is there. Now, don't be worried if you don't remember this. If you do, great. But if not, it should be easy. But we can also send this to you individually. Just raise your hand for if you have a particular issue, question, and one of our assistants will be able to cut and paste into the chat window your username, password combination if for some reason you're unable to remember based on this pattern. Okay. So that's that piece there. So we've covered up some of the logistics. I'll just very quickly talk about, just give an introduction. I think, as I said, everyone should hopefully have heard or reviewed via the YouTube link what NeuroHub is, and brief and highlight of, and subsequent to what JB initiated, to really work within the scientific domain. We're trying to provide an integrated platform that provides access to a number of tools, but integrated ways. So it really is an ecosystem. So we talked about in that presentation things like CBrain, Loris, JupyterHub. So it really is a number of tools that together provide a conceptual space of 4 different environments. One is the portal and the dashboard that you'll see upcoming shortly. Others is being able to deal with data sets, either data sets that you would create and work within your own individual group, or data sets that would be provided as a common set of data that might be shared between groups. And I'll talk about some of those in a second. And then a computing environment where you can actually then do some things interactively, which we'll not get into in detail. We'll maybe highlight some of the key things as a teaser for future training, but we'll really get into what's called the processing factory, or the task orchestration, as part of this conceptual space that NeuroHub provides. So in all, it really is a way of bringing around tools that provide coordination between data storage, task launching, so you can actually do large data processing. There'll be other components, like I said, that provide interactive data exploration, which we'll talk about in future training sessions. And the same thing ultimately later on as we advance through the further development phases in NeuroHub publication. So in all, the idea behind NeuroHub is, yes, you can do all these things individually. People can collect their data. They can then find ways of storing it on some system. Then they want to be able to process it. They can compile their applications, move it to somewhere they can run it, and then they can run the processing they want. They can then take the output, copy it somewhere else. So there's many steps along the way of the entire workflow that people would go through on a normal day-to-day basis. The whole idea behind NeuroHub, though, is to leverage tools that actually simplify the entire workflow process and abstract the complexities away so that you can actually get more processing done, get more analysis done, and an easier way of sharing. So today, what you're going to be going through is experiencing some of the tools that are available and focusing on a couple of these, particularly on the data handling side and also on the data processing side. So within the framework that you'll see today, and you'll see this shortly when I talk about the learning outcomes, we have a web-based user interface front end. There are lots of tools. It's a very agile and flexible environment when it comes to things like data management and collaboration. And that particularly works with not only, as I said, for your individual projects data sets, but also for data sets that are of common interest across numerous communities, whether it's things like you might have heard of what's something called the UK Biobank, or if you're doing neuroimaging, for example, you probably have heard of the Canadian Open Neuroscience Platform, where there are many data sets shared there. And not only, of course, you have access today, but you want to do things with that. You want to process that data. And it's really then the C-brain orchestration system underneath for large-scale processing is really that's integrated within the NeuroHub environment that we want you to get familiarity with, because that will save, as you can see, as hopefully we will demonstrate a lot of savings relative to doing things in a very manual way. So it's really the simplification of that entire workflow that we want to emphasize. So in terms of learning objectives for today, and I'll be wrapping up very shortly here, then we'll get on to the first phase, is really we want you to come away with a strong takeaway of an understanding of the NeuroHub user interface and the environment and the dashboard, a very solid foundation understanding how projects work, the concept of projects, and how to handle data in NeuroHub, meaning how do you input data and upload and download that data, how you share with collaborators. And then once you have that data, how you then actually launch some processing tasks within that environment in terms of selecting your data, selecting the application, monitoring how it runs, and then accessing the results. It's those three fundamental things we want you to walk away from feeling well understood and comfortable with and carrying forward and seeing how you can apply that to your particular setting. And I hope as what you see within the particular examples and exercises for both projects and for the task launching, we've tried to select examples that may be well tuned based on the numbers of people who are coming from the neuroimaging space. People are also I know some of the attendees who registered are also coming from the genomic space, so we even have an application on that side as well. So with that, thank you for your initial, I know that took a little longer to go through the logistics in the first part, but then I'll hand it over to Verena now, who's going to talk to you about the user interface of NeuroHub and the dashboard, and that'll be the first phase there. So I'll just stop sharing my screen, and then I'll hand this over to Verena. Oops. There we go. I think, Verena, you have control.
Hello, thank you, everyone. I will start the presentation soon. It's taking a little bit longer to load, but it should work in a few seconds. Okay, now you should all see my presentation, the first slide. So within the next around 10 minutes, we would like to introduce the NeuroHub user interface to you and walk you through your personal NeuroHub dashboard. It will be a short presentation, but we encourage you to perform each step in parallel using your account. So the first step is, of course, to enter NeuroHub. And therefore, you can either browse to the neurohub.ca page or directly to the NeuroHub portal. Choosing the first option, you will land on the NeuroHub start page, and from here you can simply click here on the upper right portal button, and you will be directed to the NeuroHub portal. Here you are asked to insert your personal credentials, and finally by clicking the sign in button, you will be redirected to your personal dashboard. And this is actually the first task for you today. So now please all insert your username and your password. And we will wait for your replies if it works successfully. So please confirm by clicking yes, or if there are any issues or problems, just indicate by clicking no in the Zoom chat. Oh, sorry.
Just a quick note, Verena.
Yeah.
People will log in and they will not be sent directly to the dashboard. They will have to go through 3 user agreement pages, basically, that will ask them, because these are new accounts, agree to this, and agree to this. And basically, you new users, you simply have to click the little checkbox and agree to these user agreements. They're not all that important, in fact, right now.
So I can't see the chat on my screen when the presentation is on. So could someone please give me a go when everyone is ready?
Yeah, I see about 4 checkboxes right now beside people's names.
Okay.
There are a number of people saying yes in the chat, are not necessarily clicking the checkbox. They're typing the word yes. 5.
Or maybe you can say if there's anybody who is having difficulty or not able to log in with their password, if you could raise your hand. And if not, I guess we can move on.
Okay, so I will slowly continue with the presentation, and whenever there are any issues, just comment in the chat. So every one of you who successfully logged in should see something comparable like this in their browser. So this is your personal dashboard within your browser window. And we will walk you through within the next few minutes. As a first information, you can always go back to this dashboard by clicking here on the dashboard button in the upper navigation menu. On the very left here, you see the NeuroHub news. And here you are informed about everything what is going on concerning NeuroHub. For example, recently added datasets or newly added features. Additionally, you can find a survey right here to help us to improve the platform and your user experience. In the middle of the screen, you are presented with your latest performed tasks, or you will be presented as soon as you have performed tasks. And right beyond, you will find your latest updated files. And you will always find the file's name, here the status of your task, and the project where the tasks belong to. And here, please also note the little ZBrain icon here and here. And by clicking on this, you will be redirected to the ZBrain platform where the computation takes place. Okay, now we will have a closer look on the primary navigation menu. So we are already familiar with the dashboard, but there are several other options to discover. For example, your projects, your storage options, the NeuroHub messaging system, your personal account information, the NeuroHub documentation. You have the option to directly switch to the ZBrain platform by using this icon. And of course, whenever you are done with your work, you can log out NeuroHub using the logout button. And we will focus on each of these options within the next few slides. So clicking on projects, you are forwarded to your projects overview. And here you are presented with all the public and private projects. And all public projects are indicated with the small public sign here, or you can also have private projects where only you have access to. To add either a new private or a new public project, simply click here and you can create a new project. But you will learn about this in the next step of this workshop. Clicking on storage will open the storage menu for you. So per default, all your data is stored on designated NeuroHub servers. However, you have the opportunity to create a new storage configuration by clicking here. Okay, next is the messaging system. And here you are provided with a simple and intuitive messaging system. You can access messages from the system, or from other users who collaborate with you on different shared projects. You can send messages to individual users who belong to the same shared projects, or to all users of these projects, comparable to a group chat. And you can easily distinguish between these messages, as all user messages are shown on a tan background, and system messages are either on a blue or a green or red background, depending on their information. And to start a new conversation, just click here on the new message button. Okay, so by clicking on My Account, you will see all your private account information. You can check your private information, you can edit your information, you can change your password, or for more advanced functions, you can add a new API token. Additionally, you will find an overview of all your file sizes, your files, and your performed tasks. So by clicking on documentation, a new window will pop up, which will show you the NeuroHub wiki. And here you can find all kinds of information ranging from creating or getting a NeuroHub account, but also on how to access the UK Biobank data, how to use NeuroHub, including how to create projects, and more advanced options, for example, using Jupyter Notebooks or the data query tool. Additionally, you can find a step-by-step example on how to analyze structural data within NeuroHub, and you will find supplementary information. As the computing steps are performed on ZBrain, you can easily switch to the ZBrain platform by using the ZBrain icon here, which will forward you to your ZBrain dashboard. And here you can find your private account information on the left side and your latest updated files on the right. And additionally, you can find the ZBrain use within this blue frame, and you can very easily switch back to NeuroHub anytime by using this NeuroHub button, which will then redirect you to your NeuroHub dashboard. So, and last but not least, whenever you are ready with your work, you can simply click on Logout at the very right corner of your dashboard, of your navigation menu, and then you are logged out of NeuroHub. Okay, so this was a very short introduction to the user interface and your personal dashboard, and thank you very much for your attention.
Good.
Okay, great. Thank you, Verena. So that was the user interface in the dashboard. I think everyone, let me just right here. So next we'll move on. I think that the agenda is to Natasha and to the data handling and data sharing parts. So I'll hand it over to you, Natasha, to take control of the screen and share.
So did you see my screen right now?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
I see your screen along with your slides next to it, and as well as yourself.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Sorry. I will try to keep a look to the participant as far as I go to my presentation to see if somebody are stuck somewhere, but you have the helper to get it done too. Also, I will have some little checkpoints. And yes, just raise your hand if you are lost at some point. I will try to go slowly. We will see how it will go. So I will discuss, my first part will be about the project and data handling. So why to create a project in, okay, sorry. Do you see my video saying hi? I'm not sure how you see my screen on me. I'm a little bit lost on my, okay, yes, you see both. Thanks, GB. So first of all, why you should create a project in ZBrain and NeuroHub? First, to organize your work, you can have private projects, so you will be the only ones that can see your files. You can share your project with other people and other users of NeuroHub. For restricted access, you can select just only few people, few CBRAN user, NeuroHub user, or you can share publicly with all the NeuroHub users. So we will go into that later. Within a project, you can upload files, you can launch tasks, and you can download back your results once the processing is done. So here it is. I have 10 little exercises to do. The last one is a little longer, a little more complicated. The first one will be really short for all of them. So I will go into that. What I will do is I will go slide by slide at first, and I will do a live demo on my side and ask for some checkpoints for you. So as I said, you have 3 types of projects in NeuroHub. The private one, you are the only ones that can see your data. Shared one, you decide with which user you want to share your data. And first one, it's a public project, so all NeuroHub user and CBRAN user can access the data. So to demonstrate the sharing capability of CBRAN, I will use on my slide, not on the live demo, but on my slide, you will see 2 colors. One, it's like yellow with NSBEC. It's one of my users. It will be the one I will use for the demo. And the other one, it's NBEC in purple, just to show you the other user what they see. Because when you invite people, the other user sees something else, obviously. And you will see on my slide, I have some yellow background just right here. So it is my main users. So first of all, what I want you to do is just to create a project. By default, this one will be private. So you will be the only one to see what you have inside. So let's go for a live demo about that. You should be on the dashboard of NeuroHub. You should go to the project tab. So here at the top left, you will see add a project. So you can click on it. I will ask you to put something like demo with your initial. So I will put demo NB for me. Some demo. Don't put it public because, as I said, we will go in this one later on. Put the not assignable unchecked. Not assignable, it's when you want to share a project, but do not let people add files or resources to the project. So you can restrict, not the access, but the content of what the people can do. So after that, you just have to click create on it. So here you will see the project is created successfully. You have 0 tasks, 0 files, 0 tasks. 1 member is you, and that's it. So this is the end of the first part. So does everybody have a project, have a private project? Yes.
So I think people will want to go through the steps and recreate on their own what you just did, Natasha. Right?
Exactly what I want. I see few yes in the chat and in the participant tab. Yes, yes, yes. So I will follow up. If it's not yes, just raise your hand. So after that, I will show you how to share a project. First of all, I will do that. So what I want to do, what I will do, is I will, not sorry, but I will have just to switch to my, to get all your name. In fact, I need all your name. So what I will do, is I will invite all of you. So I will do that in 2 steps because, oh, sorry, I didn't explain what I have done. So click on the invite other users at the top left of your project. And here you can add email or user login name. So I will go with user login name. Wrong, cut and paste. So here, what I want you to do after that, oh, sorry. I have many tabs open on my side. So, okay, I will invite all these people and I will do a second batch of invitation. I want you to accept the invitation. So I will explain you how to do that. So here it is. I have invited a bunch of people. You see that I have pending invitation on the bottom. People will be asked to accept it. So I will do the second batch of invitation right now. So just go here. And it takes some time, so I don't know why. Okay, here we go. So I put all the training accounts here. And now, yeah, I see that Brian Caron have accepted, Xavier has accepted, and so on. So what you shall do in NeuroHub, you can refresh your page. You will see that you have an invitation that is pending and that you can accept it. So if I go here, it's just Pierre that say, hey, training DS, can you accept it? So you will have to accept it, okay? Some checkpoints, everybody, I can see that in fact, so go back. In my projects, demo and back. So here I can see that, wow, a lot of people already accept my invitation, perfect. And a lot of people didn't accept too, so I will refresh a little bit. So now all these people are part of my project and they will be able to see my files if I add some. We will do that later with another project that I will ask you. In fact, it's good to do that with this one. So I will jump to the upload part for now. So what I want to ask you to do is just to upload a file in this project. So I will do that. You just have to click to the upload button. You need to choose your files. So here it is. I will choose a Ming files, for example, this one. You should select a storage. By default, you should have NeuroHub store that is selected. It's a free storage we offer at McGill that you can use for your work. And I want to put the file in the demo and back project. So those people are able to do that or not? So I will upload.
And people can select any particular file, whichever file they wish to the file. So you can put whatever you want. It will be shared with other people. So maybe put just random stuff that you can share. So now, if you go to the files, after uploading the files, you will be redirected to this page, to the files page of the project. And if you refresh and people add some other item on it, I will see more items. So for example, I see that Sergey have had some presentation and I'm able to see this one. Yeah, I have some trainings that do that. A nice hello world, thanks. That worked well. It worked well for checkpoints. Just seeing who have done that. So we can wait a little bit for having more file in it. What I can show you directly, it's like, yeah, you have the content of the, you have the list of the files, but within CBrain, you can show, you can see for some of the format, for example, for MIG format, we already have some viewer built in CBrain. So if you click on the files that is my MIG file that I upload at the beginning,
So I have some information about the file itself, the name, the type, the size, on which data provider it is, which projects, and you can see that I have the viewer directly into CBrain right here. So it's pretty cool because in this way your collaborator will be able to see directly what you have in CBrain. So I will go back here. So I will decline this one for now. Thanks for the invitation, by the way. So I will go back to the project. So what I have done. Off to join a project. So it's already done. You join my project. We upload the files. Now, what I want you to do, I will just go back here, see if people have added more files. 13 files, not so bad. So you can see that I have a number of files here. I see the number of the files. And if I click on it, I will show this, I will see this one. So after that, you have created a project. So the demo, whatever your initial is, I want you to invite me in your project. So I will expect to have a lot of invitations soon. So if I go to the dashboard, and if you do the invitation for me, it is clear, or need I go to the process again? Okay, we'll wait and we'll see if I get invitation. Yes. So I have a lot of training, ST, and so on that I can accept. So I need to do that. I can do that in the invitation tab right here in NeuroHub. So I can accept. Okay, I go back every time to my dashboard, to my project page. So you can see that I now see other project here. So I have demo DS, demo NB, that is mine, demo 01 that is by TrainST. So you can see that my invitation page just pop up and say, hey, I have 6 more invitations to accept. So it will be like that. So now you are able to accept invitation, to share file with your colleague, and to send invitation to people and accept joining a project. Yes, it's user and SBAC. A lot of people get it, but yes, it's user and SBAC for the invitation. So here I have my project specs that just grew up because I have more and more projects that is being shared with me. So for the next slides, everyone on the track, by the way?
Yes, Natasha, one quick question. How do you see the list of users you can invite?
User, you can invite everybody in CBrain. You need to know the username or the email address they used in CBrain.
Okay, so you need to ask that person what's your username or email address. Okay,
exactly.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. So if I take a look to my slide, we already have at the exercise 6. If no more question, it's off to create a public project. It's really easy to do that. So same process than before. You need to go and ask to add a project, but you will select the public checkbox here. So why have a project public in CBrain? The main goal is to share data when the data set is releasing. It's more for sharing after a publication or so on. So you can do that by add a project. Now I will say public NB. For example, you can do the same stuff than me, my public project. And I said it's public, so I can create it. After that, if I upload the files, I will select some nifty files for this one, for example. Everything seems great. I have a files, NeuroHub store, my project, public and back. I will upload it.
I would like to interrupt just to
Yes,
remind everybody that a public project is potentially dangerous because you're making this available to everybody who has a CBrain or NeuroHub account. There's about 1,000 users internationally, and normally it's not something that people do unless they want to use this to release a public data set. It's not something you do in your day-to-day work. You do not want to show all your files to everybody that is using the CBrain and NeuroHub system.
Indeed, it's a very specific case, right? The use case that we're talking about here.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's more specific case, exactly.
It's for, you know, release data sets that are typically fixed and that they're ready to be used by the rest of the community.
Oh, by the way,
I would
yeah.
strongly recommend that if you do share a public data set, which is good, when you can, you first of all you check that you can, and secondly you put a license on that data set.
This part comes just after this one.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's perfect. So my presentation makes sense. So effectively, I have a public project. For now, I didn't have a license on it, but I want to add one. By the way, the file I just added comes from OpenNeuro, so it's publicly free and available and usable by people. So I have one file, it's the nifty files, but as you said, I want to add a license. Oh, didn't make sense. I have another stuff between, but I will go with the add the license and come back to the previous exercise just after that. So how to add the license, here it is. You just have to click on it. So you can enter the license you want. So I will say, if you want to use this data, and so on, and add the license. So here it is for my public and back. So as you can see, I have the license right here, and people will have to sign the license. So I can ask you to do that on your project, the one you have created just before, the demo underscore your initial. And you will see, for example, if I click, I don't know who can create that quickly. If somebody can say that they have set up the license on their demo project, I will show you, because when I want to access the demo project, I will not be able to do that. I will have to sign the license. So if somebody can do that, I will show you what's happened on the user side when it is done. Anyone was able to do that?
I think I have, but not sure.
Can you give me the name of your project?
Demo 02.
Demo 02, here it is. And you see that I have carefully read this license test. By clicking here, I agree with all the conditions above, and I should be agreed to see what you have inside. And if I go back to your demo 02, you will see that I have the license that I just signed, and I can access it to see what you have put inside. So any question about this part or not?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but my chat has been disabled.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And mine as well.
Anyone can have a look.
Can one of the people who said their chat's been disabled give me their, or just who's speaking, and then I can double check to see.
Sure, that's me. My chat has been disabled.
So your name
This
is?
is Adam.
Dan Spiegelman.
Okay, Dan. Okay, I'll take a look. Thanks. I don't know.
Mine is
Also
also
Brian.
disabled.
No, I didn't click anything
Adam.
myself. So,
Oh,
It's back.
I didn't do anything. Trust me, my hands were off. My hands were off the keyboard. I didn't, or even the mouse.
Okay.
Okay, let us know if that issue does return, though, please.
Seems okay for the chat, at least. Is it okay with the license, guys? License, okay. Okay, seems okay. So I came back to the exercise 7 that I little bit should be maybe after the license part, since we haven't chosen the public project. But yeah, in NeuroHub, when you go to the public project, so for example, not the public project, sorry, it's not the one I want to open. The one I want to open is the one I created and the one where you were invited. So I can see that I have a lot of trained users, miss a lot of them here, but don't know if people are not here or here. Anyway, I have people here, so you can see in the access part right here that I have maintainer. I can have nothing, but I can have editor too. So as you can see on my slide, a maintainer can edit all the attributes of the project, upload files, add members and editors, can add license to the project, delete the project, can access the content of the project. An editor can edit all the attributes of the project. In fact, it's the same as a maintainer, but they cannot add a license and they cannot delete the project. The member can only access the content of the project and add files to the project. So here I will change the role of some of the user. For example, first of all, I need to go to the edit part of NeuroHub of the project. So go here. In the meantime, I will go to my slide little quickly. So edit, and you will see that I have all the information. I can change the name if I want, the description if I want, but what I want to change is enable edit access to people. So I will just add some number right here randomly. So here it is. And now I can update the project. So here you will see that, oh, I have some users that have the editor role in my project. So you can try on your own project to do that because you have the maintainer, so you have all the power on your project. So you can edit and just add some editor to your project. In the meantime, you will see here, I can see that my project contains 19 people. That is the one that has accepted the invitation, 26 that didn't have accepted the invitation. And we have 4 editors and obviously 1 maintainer. You only have 1 maintainer per project. So that is for the exercise 7. I will let people go with that and just ask if something goes wrong with this part of the task, as I ask you to do. I still have some invitation to accept. Oh, click 2 times. So it says I already clicked it and I exactly invited. Was invited to this project. So already, next step, I can show you how to download. Can you repeat how to change member statute? Yeah, sure. So if I take my projects that is called Demo NBake, the one where I invited everybody to my project, I need to go to the edit button right at the top, kind of middle. And here you see you can edit a lot of stuff, including the name, the description, but you can also enable edit access to the project by other people. So for example, I will add Brian as an editor because it's the second one, and just update the status. And of course, I can remove it too. So if I go back and just want to remove Brian, I can do that too. That's clear? So what I was, I will take one random. Yeah, I'm an editor of this project, so people get it. Let's just take a second one. I didn't accept the license. So great, people know how to do a license. And I am an editor too, so that seems perfect. Okay, so now I will show you how to download a file with the interface. It's pretty easy to do. For example, I will go, let's go with the demo NBake that I have here. So you see that I have 15 files. As you have seen, if I go, if I click on the link to the files, I go to CBrain, and now I am able to download the files. So if I do that, it's basically just go in my download. My browser will download it for me. So the point is that for uploading and downloading the files by the interface, you have some limitations about the size. You can just upload 500 at 500 megabytes. And yes, so you have some limitations. That's why the last exercise, and more complicated maybe, will be to use the SFTP to upload and download files, because using the SFTP remove all the size limitation, and you will be able to transfer multiple files at the same time without size limitation. On the same end, you can use graphical interface to do that. For example, using FileZilla and CyberDuck. I ask people to have CyberDuck or FileZilla set up to the presentation, because I will go with CyberDuck on my site and go step by step to do that. So the information is available online. It is a link if you have the slide on your site. Otherwise, you can find it like here. You need to go to the support. It's my slide right here, support, CBrain user manual. After that, CBrain transfer manual, and you will have the information right here. So just waiting to get the page. Okay. So here, by the way, it's the CBrain forum. You can ask questions. We have a forum for users to support when they have questions, but you have also the CBrain user manual that is right here. And the most interesting part for this session will be to see the data transfer tutorial. And what we will look at it's the SFTP1 information that is just right at the top, because we have two SFTP servers. For the demo, I will ask the SFTP1, both. You can use both of them without any problem, but I choose SFTP1 for the demo purpose. So let's go. You need to have CyberDuck open. So I will just do a quick step on my slide. So you will have to open a connection to set up correctly as information to connect. And after that, we will be able to upload. So let's go for that. Okay, you guys helper, you have some questions on the chat. So just go to the SFTP server. So as I said, here you should select SFTP, SSH File Transfer Protocol. Here's the name of the server. So I will just go back here and cut and paste this information. Up the port, I know it's 7500. Your username is the one you use in CBrain. So for me, it will be NSBeck. My password, I will set up manually because I'm not sure it takes a good one automatically. Here I will put none and I will connect. So here it is. I agree. And here you can see I already have some stuff, but I want to add some more. So let's see about that. So I do a right click on it. Oh, I will make a break just to see if everybody was able to connect to the SFTP without having cyber.conf files crying and yelling at you. Good time to say yes or no in the chat with the check marks. No, Yuku, you were on the table?
Yeah, I got lost at one point.
Okay.
The server ID.
Okay, you want me to start again?
That would be appreciated.
Yes, for sure.
CBrain 1. And username is the same as for NeuroHub?
Exactly, and password is the same from NeuroHub.
Very good. Just a second.
You get it? So everyone on the track?
I'm here now.
Okay. So that's perfect. So I hope everybody are here. So now I will upload a file. So just right click, or you have some shortcut to do that, but I will do that like that. So I can select some file on my system. Let's say I want to select the subject number 6. So it's well. So here it is under transfer, waiting a little bit, and refresh. So here you can see that I have one more file that I didn't see before. So now we can go back to CBrain. I will make a checkpoint right here, seeing if everybody was able to upload the file to the SFTP with the interface. If nobody say no, I will take that for a yes. So
don't take that for a yes.
No, really? Okay.
With some experience in teaching.
Yeah, let's get some more thumbs up from people or yeses in the chat.
Okay, I will wait a little bit. Thanks for your input. So in meantime, I see Pierre have making some comment and response in the chat. So pretty cool.
I can just summarize briefly while we wait in 2 sentences what I was saying in the chat.
Go ahead.
This mechanism that you're showing is for personal upload and download to CBrain. It's useful because there are no size limitations and people use this a lot. But there are also other alternatives, even more sophisticated, in order to get data in and out of CBrain and NeuroHub. That includes configuring an endpoint with a SSH key, and this allows CBrains to fetches and send data directly to pretty much anywhere. But this is part of the advanced training that we'll probably provide in a few weeks, just so that everybody knows, yes, there are even more sophisticated options for input and output of data in NeuroHub.
Particularly, just to add that enables a lot of the automation aspects that could come with that, particularly through when people are collecting the data from various sources. Again, that can be automated through it as well.
Exactly. Because you don't have to do everything with a browser by clicking things. You can also automate all of these things.
Yeah, and it's one of my last slide too that say, hey, we have some more stuff for you if you want and if you need to.
So I can confirm that people are connecting to the SFTP server and uploading and downloading stuff right now, people from this training session. That doesn't mean that they will see their files in NeuroHub right away, because that's something you have to make clear, that this is a first step, but there's a second step.
It's my second step, so I think I will go to my second step. So I was a little bit quick maybe, but in your interface, so you no need to be anymore on CyberDoc or FileZilla. You need to go in NeuroHub and switch to CBrain, in fact. So you just click on the top left. Yes, let Adam know if you have trouble with the SFTP. So here I am on the NeuroHub. We'll show my slide a little bit. So that's where I am. Not really, but if you want really me to be where it is right here, I will just switch to the project. So at the top, you can see that we have a resource right here. I am able to select that and to select data providers. So I will wait people to be on this page. So here you can see I have multiple data providers that is set up with my account. You should see less than that because I'm a member of already some of the projects. But you have the SFTP1 right here and the SFTP2 here. So the two I have mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. And you should be able to browse the data provider. So I use data provider, but see that as a storage. It's a storage space that you can use. So you should be able to click on browse. And what you will see is the 4 files that you have seen right here. So it's in sync because it's the same space. So you can select the files you want to register in CBrains, because now you just have the file in the storage area, but it's not known by CBrains. CBrains didn't see it, in fact, for the moment. So I need to register in CBrains. So what I need to do is click on the file I want to register, go at the top with the register files, Tell CBrain to which project you want to assign this. So I want to assign the file to my demo mbek project. I want to move it because I don't want to keep it on my on the SFTP, and I want to move it on NeuroHub store. So I can register the files like that. And now I will be able to see one more files in my project. That is the one I just registered, and here it is. If you can see the sub 06 that I just registered right now.
Show it in NeuroHub, maybe?
Yeah. Go in NeuroHub. I'm on my project, so it will already be here. Just refresh. Yeah, the last one. So here it is. We'll wait a little bit, see if people are on track. Not so bad for the timing. Pierre, can you have a look to see if people have upload stuff on the SFTP server?
Sure. Yes, a few users have succeeded, but I'm assuming that some people are just taking it for granted and not going through the exercise, which is okay. Which is totally fine.
That's fine for me.
The point being that we want to demonstrate that this capability exists, that people can upload and download files using SFTP, which is a secure protocol, by the way, and that each user has their own private space there. You're not uploading or downloading from anybody else's space. But once the upload and download the upload is done, then you have to register in CBrain in order for the file to be taken over by the system.
So the last point I want to show you, it's you can do the reverse, so get back your result or your data from CBrain. So I will go in my project if I find it. So here it's my project in CBrain. You need to be in CBrain to do that, by the way. So I have all these files. I don't want to download some of your files, but I will use the file I have downloaded at the beginning. So it was a sub 01 session test T1W, by the way. So here, what I want to do is move it to the SFTP server. So I will do for the SFTP one because I'm already connected. So I move the data. And you can see that it just changed the location of the data provider because you were using the NeuroHub store. And here I just say, hey, please transfer my data to SFTP1 in order to me to get it back. So if I go back here, I should see my image files just appear right here. And then I will be able to download the files. I didn't hear you.
Oh, never mind.
Okay. So Sam, I will wait people to do that. You can take my files, the sub01 says test to do that. But you can try to do the download part of this one. So, and now, if I go to my Finder.
There was just a request, Natasha, in the chat asking if you can go through that step again.
Yeah, sure. Sure. I will just put another files Sorry about that. I will download another file because I didn't want to take other people's files. So let's go with this one. So here you see the way you can upload with CBrain, by the way. So I have choose my files. This one is okay, 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 and I will upload it. Oh, yeah, will be fine. So you can see at uploading the files. It's the same as you have done within NeuroHub just before. So it take a little long because I see I didn't have take the smallest files. And apparently my connection is unstable. I hope everybody heard me well, but
All things considered, that's moving fairly quickly for an upload from a home, I mean.
Yes, I was going to say you're very lucky, Natasha, that this hasn't killed your Zoom connection, because we can hear you and we can see your desktop fine even while you're uploading this big file.
So that's not so bad.
Definitely is a credit to Zoom.
We will see if it will crash or not. We'll wait until the end to say.
Yeah, it'll get to the last, like, you know, five bytes or something, and then like, oh, stalled. No.
Just crashed totally. Yes, okay.
Success.
Seems at least I am able to see it or not. Yeah, here it is, the sub-0 files that I just upload. So you select your files, you copy or move it. I will move it. When you copy, obviously, you will have both data, 2 times the data in both locations. So here I will select SFTP1 because I'm connected to the SFTP1 on the other side. So, and just moving it. So you see that my file is now in SFTP1. Here it is. So I will be able to go to CC Burdock, just refresh it, and you can see that I have the sub-05 session retest WE. And I'm able to download.
Don't.
And don't do that because I will crash my Zoom maybe.
This is 100 megabyte, and now that will be a transfer download towards your computer. Do not.
Yeah, sure. So, but here is a step. Does anyone get it now?
To summarize, basically, is that in NeuroHub and CBrain, there's multiple storage areas. One of them is called the SFTP1 or 2, which can store files normally, but it is also accessible through a side channel, the SFTP client. And what Natasha was demonstrating is from CBrain, copying a file to the SFTP area makes it available for download on the SFTP client, or the other way around, what she showed earlier. If you upload something on the SFTP area, then within CBrain and NeuroHub, you can see the file and register it and start using it.
So in that regard, it's just to further elaborate on that, Pierre, that's for everyone, it's kind of like a transit area before being able to put it to other locations, for example.
Exactly. But CBrain sees it as a normal file. Once the normal area, once the file is registered, which means that it can be the target for the output of tasks. You can schedule a processing pipeline, which will be discussed later, and say, I want my outputs to be sent directly to the SFTP area, which makes it even very convenient to transfer the output back to your computer or to your lab.
Really good point, Pierre. So as you can see, I just opened my download tab on my Finder, and you can see that Sub-01 I just download with the SFTP server is right here on my download area on my computer. So go back to the presentation. We are at the end of the exercise. I hope everyone get everything. If not, you can ask us for sure. So as Pierre have said before, we have some other option for data transfer. You can add some private storage via NeuroHub using SSH protocol. So in this case, the files will be only accessible by you, or you can configure we can configure specific storage for your laboratory, and the files can be accessible by the user of your choice. Both are possible. If you want more information, we will have a next session of training, I guess. So we can discuss that later on if you're interested, or if you're interested, you can just reach us and ask for more information. That's it for the first part about data transfer and project management since NeuroHub CBrain. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it was clear.
Great, thank you, Natasha. So I think it was, as you've demonstrated and through the comments as well, everyone hopefully can see the flexibility that is available there, both from an interactive point of view, but then also the automation elements as well. So there's lots of options there with that. We're now at, as you said, pretty much pretty close to being on time, right? So we're now 4 minutes to 3, and we talked planning for maybe a 15-minute break. So I think we do all need a break, right, of various forms. So let's reconvene and recommence at let's just say 10 after 3.
Okay, for the second part, I will discuss a little bit about the pipeline launching in CBrain. So CBrain is far to be only a data storage space. It's allow you to launch pipeline on Compute Canada on 2 clusters. So I will go into that. During this training session, I will get you some tasks to do, to perform, some exercise. So we will run 3 pipelines. CVET for the first one, it's a neuroimaging pipeline. The second one, it's PCEV, it's a genomic pipeline. The last one, it's a BIDS application. And for this one, we use free software Roconol, so neuroimaging tool too. So the exercise will be set up in 7. So the first one is really the setup to get you an overview of what I want to do, because I have prepared a lot of stuff for you, like the data, and I already have pre-processed some of the pipelines, because you will see some take 20 hours to run sometimes. So I will not just run it for 20 hours, but I will give you the results. So for the exercise 2, we will launch CVET, monitor the results, monitor the task in exercise 3. After that, explore the execution information and the results. And finally, we will go back to the PCEV pipeline and to the free software Roconol BIDS app at the end. So we will start by going to the setup. So as you can see, I go back. I use another account because I really have a straight account like you have. So you can see that it's train_NB. It's really the same as we configure for you. So you should go to the project page. So obviously we will see a lot of projects right here because we had a lot of stuff this morning. But you have one that is called, oh no, that's not the first task I want you to do. I want you to create a new project. So now you should know how to do that. And I want you to do that and say, do I give it a name? Let's say launch underscore your initial for launching task pipelines. So not publics, and you should create it. So it's the first stuff I want you to do because we will use it to store the result and the processing after in the presentation. So you have 0 files, 0 task, 1 member, it's you. I will wait, see if everybody is here or not. We'll try to wait a little bit to see if I see raise hand.
I saw one hand disappear, so I think, but maybe we'll see them start to reappear.
Dan Spiegelman raised their hand.
Do you need help, Dan, or? Oh no, it says okay now.
Okay. I'm a little bit disturbing because I lost my participant Zoom list, but anyway. So I guess everyone have the launch project set up. So what I want you to do is go back to the project list. It is what I ask you to do here. And you will find one that is called NH_CBrain training data. Yeah, it's this one. So, sorry, I was a little bit quick, so I will go back here, sorry. So here it is, here, and what I want you to do is click on the number of the files you have at the bottom. In this way, you will see all the files I have here. Basically, I have just 8 files, and we will use it to launch a pipeline after that. Now, between NeuroHub and CBrain, we will do that in CBrain because CBrain is the part of the portal that will handle the task launching, the pipeline launching. So I will ask you to switch to CBrain. So you see the same files, but in CBrain. So that's the end of the setting up. Hope everybody is here. We'll wait a little bit to get everybody on the same page.
This is just a question to people in the call. For some reason, I'm noticing my participants window. I no longer have the option of raising my hand. I can only say yes or no. Are other people seeing the same thing?
Yes, I cannot raise my hand
Okay.
either. I don't know why.
Okay, I don't know why I didn't adjust anything, but I just want to confirm I wasn't the only one seeing that. Okay.
Yes, no, and a few other options, but nothing else.
Okay.
Same. Our co-hosts.
I'm not the only one to have an issue with Zoom.
My hand is still there. I don't know why.
Okay. Then I will go further for the exercise. Oh, by the way, as I said before, all the data come from OpenNeuro. So here is a link of the dataset I have used. To make the process streamlined, I have done some stuff with the data because it's nifty files that is stored in a bits dataset format. In fact, it's this file here that I used, but I already extract some of the files and convert it to Minc because Civet will take Mincs files. Yeah. So the original data look like that. It's one folder with 10 subjects, and the 10 subjects have different session setup with different functionality, anatomical, DWI, and functional stuff. But yeah, I have already do some preparation for the workshop just to facilitate the exercise. But the data come from here, except for the genomic part, that is sample data that I just add to CBrain. So the first exercise will be to launch Civet After that, I will use civet to monitor the execution, to explore the execution information, and to see the civet's results. So it's exercise 2, 3, 4, and 5 with civet. So first of all, I will go to the slide a little bit. So you need to select your Ming files. After that, you will have to click on launch and follow a little step here. I will do that with the interface with you. You will have to select some option to run civet, and finally you will have to start civet at the end. So I will go with that with you. So let's go by selecting the streaming file. So you can see, by the way, you should see that file in CBrain have a type. So here you can see that we have Ming files, CSV files, and bits dataset, for example. So I selected my 3 Ming files. Then I selected the launch button. I have civet at the top. If it's not your case, just type civet, and you will see every tool that contains civet. In fact, it's the search buttons. So you can click on it. I will ask you to select Gram platform and version 2.1.1. Why Gram platform? Because it's on Compute Canada, and it's the cluster, the HPC that responds the more quickly. So we get a chance to get you on CPU before the end of the meeting. So I can select the Gram platform, and now I have to launch civet. So here I have the launch civet task controller. You can set the parameter and so on. I will wait a little bit you to be in this page, and I will adjust my lights as just flash. Okay.
Hopefully you don't lose power. Hopefully you're not losing power.
No, I adjust my lights. That's just
okay.
Be not really well configured, if I can say.
So has everyone been able to select the files and then select task to select, then choose civet? Anybody who needs some assistance with that?
I see many yes, 5. Okay, I will go through the configuration of civet. So you can change your server version, but we already pre-selected in the previous step. So we will keep this one. So you can save result on different data providers. So I will ask you to use NeuroHub Store, the default data provider for NeuroHub. The project I want you to select, it should normally be already selected. I want you to select your project you just created right before. That's called launch_your initial. But as I said, it should already be configured like that. After that, you have the task parameter. It's really the parameter you choose when you launch the pipeline, like command line. So you can have some stuff to fill. A lot of them, it's filled with the defaults. So the only one that is required for civet and didn't take the default, because we have 2 defaults depending of the inputs, it's the entry distance, and a lot of time just 125. So I will ask you to put 125 years. And anyway, if you don't fill this one, someone will yell at you and say, hey, you should fill this field, okay? So if you forget it, you will see it later, and Stephen will say, hey, you have forgot this one. The other part to fill for, so once again, you need to fill the entry distance with 125. And oh yeah, have you seen that? Oh, yeah, you have some tooltips. So you have some explanation about the option you can select and what is the range and so on. The second part you need to fill is the prefix and the subject ID. You can do that manually, but if you do not want to do that manually, and I personally do not want to do that, you can select the prefix pattern and the subject ID pattern. You have some explanation here if you want, but for now, I want to ask you to feel like that. So open curly bracket, 1, closing curly bracket. For the second one, open curly bracket, 2, curly bracket, closing one, and then refresh the list. So up, we go back at the top, but here you should see prefix filled by some sub and subject filled by some 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, because it takes your input and just apply some pattern and fill the prefix and the subject ID. And now you should be able to start Civet. So I will stay at this page for now and ask you if people are on the same page as me and have filled the form correctly. And in a few minutes, I will just click on the Start Civet.
People can go ahead and click Start Civet right away if they want. I'm okay with that, so that basically all the requests will be staggered when people are already on the main server. The important thing to realize is that in the file manager before, Natasha selected 3 files, and now 3 files are shown in this bottom part of the panel there. And this allows her to select for each file a prefix and a subject ID. It's something that's specific to Civet. But the important thing is that this is what will result once we launch. We fill a single form, but for 3 files. The point being that we're about to launch, and Natasha will show us 3 tasks with a single form.
Exactly. Thanks, Pierre. So I will go ahead and click on Start Civet, hoping everybody has the param correctly set up. So here we go. So if I start, you see that as Brent says that 3 Civet task is running in background. You see nothing here. Why? Because you are still in the NH brain training data, and you need to switch to launch your project that is called launch_your initial, because you select it. I do that because I don't want to have all the tasks in the same project. So that's why it was for more compartmentation. So you will have to select your launch project. Here you go in the files, but you launch a task. So go in the task tab, and you see that I have 3 Civet right here, all in new status. So Cibra needs under to configure the task in the clusters. In Cibra, in fact, for the first part, we can wait a little bit. You should refresh the page, and you will see that the current status will change. It can take a little bit time, and we will wait a little bit for that. If you already launched your task before me, it should already say something other than just new.
So have people been able to launch their
Yeah, some people are queued. You see that I have setting up right here.
Okay, I couldn't see it was small on my screen. So okay.
Yeah, maybe it's a little bit small, but basically I have 3 tasks. If I click on the plus, I see all my 3 tasks independently. So one for the subject 01, one for the subject 02, and one for subject 03. So a lot of people are queue. It's normal. It's running on Compute Canada. So you will stay in queue for a little while, but generally 5–10 minutes, you should be okay with Graham. So I will leave here. I will go back to my presentation and show you what you should see normally.
Right. So just Natasha, just to clarify, so what you're seeing is queued is your specific, just so that people understand, I guess, the task visibility, right? In terms of this is what your particular tasks are.
Exactly.
Versus the collective set of tasks, right?
Exactly. That's just my tasks. So everybody should see 3 Civets saying owner the owner will be train_your initial here, because it's your task, and you will only see your task because you are in your project right here.
I can confirm that there's about 15 to 20 of those tasks that have just been scheduled on Gram, and even one of them not on Gram. So people are experimenting, but that's fine. People are launching tasks.
That's perfect.
For your information, everybody, typically people do this 1,000 at a time.
Yeah, not just 3.
Yeah, for big data sets, you know.
This is an example where you can see the savings in terms of, you know, the workflow. You know, if you wanted to do this on a command line versus this allow, not necessarily on the command line, but each one of these launches, as you said, if it's 1,000, you're doing one pane of glass view to do that launching.
Yeah, just for fun, Pierre have run, I don't know how many civets in few months, but a lot.
Me?
Yeah.
This fall, I've ran something like 40,000 of them. 40,000.
So here I will stay in queue, but I want to show you that I already pre-processed the stuff for you. So the stuff I want you to do, it's go in the quick project switcher, and you have a project that is called NHP training task. So if you switch to that, you will see you have some file. I will explain after what is it, but what is interesting is the task part, because I already run all the tasks I want you to run today. So I have 2 PCAV here, 3 civets right here, and 4 reconnal right here. So the interesting part now is the civet one. So let's go for that. The last step, the last status of a task is completed when everything goes well. So here it is. If I click on it, I will wait everybody to be here, but yeah, Gram platform is pretty quick. So here you can see some information about the task. So I will go on that. So for my task, for my slide, I'm already at the exercise 4. You have at the top some information about the task. So just the task name, the description by default is the name of the input files, where you have run it, Gram platforms, the owner of the tasks, the project where it was run, the status, the data provider, and so on. You can see everything here. You have a brief summary of the input parameters you enter. And here you have the output. I will come back to this part later, because now I want to focus about the log and everything that is saved in CBrain to reproduce your work and to see how you have run your task. So if you go to the raw parameters right here, you will have every single parameter you choose and you run civet with. So every single entry in the form will be saved for you. So you can see that, for example, here, I don't know if you see well, but we have the entry distance that I make you fill with 125. And in this way, you can, if you came back 2 or 3 years after, you can take the same parameter if you want to rerun your task with the same subject. For example, if you want to add some participant to your studies, you can use the same input. So the processing log, it's really about what's happened in CBrain side. So more or less, it's what you have seen. So your task is new, it came to the setup stage. After that, the task is submitted on the cluster. You even see the command line here, and so on. And at the end, you have the post-process that say it's completed. Or if you have some issue, you will have some information right here about what's going wrong. The resource usage give you some information about how many CPU hours they take, the wall time, and the disk space they use. So it can be interesting just to look at it. And finally, the last part of this page will be the cluster job output and error. So this part is really what was produced by the pipeline itself. So it's really the standard output of Civet for this part. So you can see that you have a bunch of stuff, but it's really the output of Civet itself. And here you have the standard error. That is, if you have error in the pipeline itself, you will see what's happened. It can be pretty useful when you have to debug stuff. For example, your pipeline just crashed and you don't know why. It can be due to the pipeline itself, and you can see if you have put a wrong parameter and so on. So that is for my exercise 3. It was just an overview of what you can explore. Maybe I can let you explore it by yourself, but I think it's pretty explanatory. And I will go in 1 or 2 minutes to exploring the data output itself.
Maybe just a quick comment, Natasha, just to mention that even though we're trying to see the flow here, it's just to mention that this Civet execution is done, it's a containerized environment, right? In this case, you know, that's it's running on Compute Canada, but it's a containerized Civet environment, right?
Yes, exactly.
So in that regard, if there are other tools, we are able to containerize them to help them in terms of portability across different platforms. So.
Yes, because for most of our tools right now, we have containers that contains the tool itself. So it's a closed environment where the tool have everything they need to run. And we can just take the image and put it everywhere we want in Compute Canada on our local server at McGill, because we have some. We will go into that after. But yeah, it's an easy way to take the stuff, to take the pipeline reproducible and portable. So I go back to the summary, just because here you have the link to the output. So if you click on it, you can see it's a link. By the way, this one is a link to that. It will bring you to the input files. This one will bring you to the output files. So you can go here and just select it. So once again, you will have some information, basic information about the file itself. So one point it's really interesting too, it's the parent. The parent, it's the input file that you use for the task, in fact, for the pipeline. So here it is. After that, you have the content of the files. I will go quickly on that before going here. So you have the file logs, so you can see it was run by the task here. If I click on it, I will click on it right here and come back after. You go back to the task, in fact, where you can see everything about your task. Okay, just you can navigate and see where your data came from. So we'll go back to the output itself. And once again, you know that it came from this input files. And the disk space history just, it used this space for the task. So here we go. Here, basically, you can see that as a folder, because it is a folder, so it's the output folder of Civet. You can see, you can expand each little folder icon here to see what you have inside. So you can explore as this, but you will not have many information about that. What is really interesting is you can switch between some modality and built-in viewer we have in CBrain. For example, if you click to the Civet output right here, you can switch to the surface viewer. We'll do that right now. Wait a little bit. And ta-da! You have a nice 3D brain to play with it. And you can change the surface files and the overlay if you want. So, as I said, you can play with it. It's a nice way to see your result live. And for sure, you can download your output file with the SFTP server on your side and explore it on your side. So we'll go back to the CVET output because we have some other stuff to explore here. The stuff we can explore here, it's the show displayable contents that will pop up some image that is modality or whatever steps that CVET has processed. So you will be able to just look at your result live in the browsers. And once again, you should be able to download it via the SFTP server if you want to. We'll wait a little bit, let you explore that. Please put a right check mark when you are done with the exploration, and we can move on to other tasks launching. So one stuff that is really interesting in CBrain is that we track kind of everything. So we know when the task was launched, on when cluster, with which parameters, and so on. So it's pretty easy to reproduce your results if you want to later on.
And I think, Natasha, one of the things you showed, it's part of the menu, is also the relationship between the files and the tasks as they go through, right? So you can see that linkage, and it's very easy to navigate
exactly
from source in file to task through to the output, and without having to search it, they're linked.
Yeah, and you have many places that you can do that. For example, in the file logs or in the task itself. I have shown you that before, because if I go here it is. I can see that my input was that, my output was that, but if I go to my output, I can see that my parent was the Ming file. So you have many places in CBrain when you can see the relation between input, output, task, and tools. Yeah. So as Pierre have seen, many of you was able to launch the task. I would just, by curiosity, go back to my launch and get projects, see if my task is on CPU. Yeah! So for me, I have 2 on CPU and 1 is still a queue. As I said, it's like 12 to 15 hours for this pipeline. We will go to the PCEV pipeline. Why? Because it's a little bit different for the PCEV to launch multiple tasks. It's due to different integration in CBrain, so I want you to see both ways to do that. In meantime, PCEV, it's a good example because it takes 5 to 10 minutes to run, so you will have the result directly on your end after the end of the pro workshop. So as you can see in this slide, you need to create a CSV files to launch multiple pipelines, so to launch multiple PCEV. It's different from CVET. CVET, you just select multiple input. I will show you how to do that. So to do that, you need to go back to the training data project. So you see that I have a bunch of files right here. I will not do the part of creating the CBrain CSV file because I already prepared it for you. It's right here. I just will give you some hint about how to do that. For example, the PCEV pipeline takes that we call X data and Y data in input. I want to run two times the pipelines with two different X data. So I will select my 2X data I want to run. I go in the more option in your right, sorry. And you have an option that is called create a file list. But really, I don't ask you to do that. When you create the file list, you will just see a screen like that. So I say your CBCSV file is created. So it's this one, in fact. I will show you the content of it. Just to let you know what is inside. So it's a CBrain file list. The ID is the ID of the file in the database in CBrain. You have the name of the files, the size, and some information about it. In fact, what CBrain will do, it will take, each one will be considered as one, each line of the CSV file is considered as one input, and it will launch one task, one pipeline by input. So if I go back here to my files, what I need to do is deselect the 2X data because I want to run on multiple files. So I have to select the Y data that will be used for that. Oh. You're great. You have created sorry, somebody have created a CSV file, but it's not a big deal. I will select the file list right here, the one I have at the top. The one say read write, please, in main store, sorry. And then you have to select the launch task. For me, I have the PCEV at the second tool because I ran it last time, but you can search and you will have the PCEVs that just appear here. And I will ask you to select converter 2 to launch the task because it's one of our local servers, so you can, it will be really quick to get in line. So launch it. Same, you select a data provider of result, NeuroHub store, launch NB as a project, the Y files here, and the CBCSV file you just selected and the X file. So I will wait for you to do that.
So just to clarify, for this for PCEV in this case, one is the CBrain CSV file and the other one is just a regular CSV file.
Yeah, exactly.
And as it's described there, one of them is the covariance matrix and the other one is the name of the CSV corresponding to the response.
Exactly, and the covariance matrix in file is just this one. It's filled by the CBCSV file, and it will take the 2X data files that we selected to create it, to create the task. We will see it when we launch the task. It will be more clear. So now I will click on the Start PCEV. Once again, just go back to the launch NB project or launch whatever project you just created because it's the one we have selected. So if I go here, you will see you have two PCEV pipelines that is run. And yeah, here it is. And if you go here, you click on it, you will see that the input is the X_data_1 for the first one. Oh, sorry, I'm going in the files. I want to go back to the task, but not a big deal. We'll go back to the task. And for the second one, take a little time. You will see that my second input is the X_data2. So it takes each of my entry in the CBrain CSV files and runs the pipeline. And as you can see, PCEV is really fast. So when your task finishes in CBrain, you will see task, whatever the name of your task, completed successfully. So I already have the result of the PCEV pipeline. You can go explore the output folder right here. And you will see that you have some text file and CSV files that you can explore a little bit. So we'll wait a little bit and we will go to the last task, that is the BIDS app free surfer.
Maybe this is a question, this is more of a question, I guess, to the participants. Has anybody in their own work run PCV before or using PCV? Just that, no, the intention here is not to just to quantify if this is pretty relevant from a tool, but just to understand the workflow. But I'm just curious in terms of the application side, anyone doing the genetics elements. Maybe that's a little bit more specific.
So yeah, but sorry, Marianne, it's a good point to say NeuroHub and CBrain is not just for neuroimaging. We can run whatever you want in CBrain. It just, we should have called CBrain otherwise.
No, and your point with exactly the containerization of the tools, for example, makes it indeed flexible beyond name, right?
Exactly. So Pierre, can you take a look for the PCV task if people was able to launch it?
Or if people also at the same time give it in the chat window if they've been able to launch the PCV.
Oh, I have to know. I don't know if somebody
I'm hearing some sound.
Tried to speak, but we did not hear.
Sound is breaking up completely. I think it's Dan that's trying to speak, but we can't hear you, Dan.
It was Sergey. I muted him.
Oh, it was Sergey?
So
yeah, sounds like it's Sergey. I can see his microphone meter coming up and down.
No,
so I think there's a sound issue on your side, Sergey.
And in meantime, I see no more no in the participant. So
sorry, could you please repeat, Natasha? You could see no longer.
No cross in the participant list.
Okay.
Because we have few in 1 or 2 minutes ago, and now I just see nothing except some green checkbox check.
Okay.
So I think it's okay.
Good sign.
So then I will go to the last part that is about BIDS application. So for now, we only have one BIDS application that is available to everyone. It's BIDS app free surfer running Rock on All. So a BIDS app is a container image capturing a neuroimaging pipeline that takes a BIDS formatted dataset as input. As I said, if you go back to the training data that we set up for you, you have the file that is called DS000114. That is a BIDS dataset. When you want to use a BIDS application, you need to say that is BIDS dataset when you register your file, because CBrain will take it in account. The integration will allow you to run multiple pipelines in a single dataset. And I will show you how. So you need to select the file, the folder, in fact, because it's a root folders. Then you click on launch once again. Select the BIDS app free surfer. If you don't see, use your search. Here, you only have one choice here because it's only available on Converter 2 for now. It's really advanced feature of CBrain. It was developed not far ago, so it's not experimental, but it's not, as I can say, we can improve the way it goes with the BIDS app in CBrain, but I just want to demonstrate that we have this capability.
Let's call it an advanced prototype.
Yeah, I think it's a good definition. So once again, you need to select the data provider where you want to store your results. the launch and bake as a project of the output. I will ask you to select participant because it will create one task by participant who selects. You need to add, remove, analyze this level right here. What it will do, it will create, can you just wait a minute? I have really something to do. I'm really sorry about that. I have an urgence.
Yeah, no problem.
I can continue the explanation even if I don't have the control of the browser, but based only on what we see here, this task, oh, she's back. All right.
I was going to say, if need be, I think there was ways I could assign.
Sorry about that. That's fine. Live demo. So you have to select the participant. Then you can select the session you want to process because this dataset contains more than one session. So you will click to the, I want you to select the test one, please. And here, I don't want you to run on the 10 participants. I just want you to select 3 of them. You can do that randomly. I didn't care which one. Here it is. You have to select some options. So as for the civet one, you have some it's already filled by the default and some that you need to fill. So here it's request. You fill the stage. So I will say I want to run all the stuff. And you just have to click at the back, at the end, to start the bits free surfer recordable. So once you are here, if you go back to the task page, and for sure, sorry, project. So the one I want to, I'm not able to see it, it's mine. I search for the train underscore NBEC. Let's go like that. So here we go. The task. It's a launch NBEC that I was searching for, sorry. So you should see that you have now 4 tasks. 3 of mine it's already on the cluster, so because it's on converter 2. So you can see that I have 1 task by participant. I selected the participant 03, 04, 05. So I have the 5 tasks right here. And the last one, it's an aggregator that will put all the results together. And yeah, that's it. Same as Civet, it takes something like 15 hours to run, so you will not see the result. But as for the other pipeline, I already processed this. So if you go to the NHC brain training data, in the task list, as I show you at the beginning, you will see the 3 tasks with 2 tasks for the PCAV, 3 for Civet, and 4 for bits app free surfer. And if you go in the files here, you will see all the results of each task. And the one called DS000114, it's a participant that we just run. And you can see that we have one result, not one result, but some result for subject 01, some other for subject 02, and some other for the subject 03. So here it is for the last pipeline. And I think I am done with the presentation. We can have some questions for sure. But basically, you should have seen how to run different pipeline in CBrain and different way to do that.
I'd like to summarize this, in fact, in a few sentences, if you allow me.
Go ahead. Sure.
Okay. So basically, Natasha has shown 3 different pipelines that demonstrate 3 different ways of launching tasks. The reason for this is that pipelines come in different flavors all over the world, and they have different requirements, but they can all be integrated in CBrain. The first one is the most straightforward, Civet. She selects 5 files and she ends up with 5 tasks that are launched into CBrain. That's a pretty straightforward way of launching an array of tasks or a set of tasks or pipeline if you want. The second one was for a tool, PCEV, that doesn't have this capability. It takes 2 files. Each instance of PCEV takes 2 files. So she selected 1 file for one of the input files, and she created beforehand a file list for the second file, and CBrain automatically then created 2 tasks, one with the 1 file that is fixed, and the other file input was taken from that file list. So this is a kind of task that requires the user, you, to create a file list first, and you provide this file list as the input for one of the files. The third example is something that's more common in neuroscience. There's a specification for data called BIDS, which is a convention for structuring data and having subjects in them and sessions. And this was an example of a pipeline that understands the BIDS specification. You only give the task a single BIDS input as a file that you select. And she did this at the beginning. She just selected a BIDS input file. And when launching the task, that is the moment where during the task launching interface, when she fills the form, she selects which of the subject to process and which group stage, or basically post-processing, to run afterwards. She selected a BID subject that contained 10 subjects, but she only selected 3 subjects out of them, and CBrain ended up creating 4 tasks out of them. So different models for running different tasks, all supported by CBrain, and all transparently shuffling the data back and forth between, Compute Canada, your own private data provider, or the storage that we provide as a service. That's my summary. You are muted.
Just show you the form of a BIDS app. As Pierre said, the BIDS app know how to read the BIDS data set. So it knows that you have the session, you have the name of the session and the name of the participant. It's automatically extract from the data set you have selected, in fact. So yeah.
And one of the reasons why we call this advanced prototype is that it will work very poorly if you have a BIDS app that contains thousands of subjects. The reason is that this form will show 1,000 checkboxes. It will launch properly 1,000 tasks, but when some of them fail, and they inevitably fail because scientific data is not perfect, then it's very, very difficult to tell the set of pipeline, oh, continue, but exclude this subject and exclude this one. So we're still working on these capabilities.
So yes, that's it for the presentation about off-to-run pipeline in CBrain, and explore information about the result and the login of information. So yeah.
Thank you, Natasha. So just before we put a cap on, I guess, on this particular element, I guess I hope if people succeeded in trying to launch the BIDS app, just wanted to get maybe like a show of hands or commentary. And I think the takeaway though is as Pierre and Natasha both explained, the versatility that is there, both in terms of the tasks themselves, covering a wide range of tools that are out there, but at the same time, depending on the type of tool, since those tools are constructed by outside parties, but just the different ways in which those tools run that are supported within CBrain, whether it's individual input output versus collections of files, for example, depending on whether it's a BIDS format or even ones that are organized into CSV files. You can see that there's flexibility across there. Okay, I'll watch for comments if there's anybody who has any questions about the task launching part, but we'll move to the next part, which is kind of just as a wrap up, but we'll be around for a little bit longer to answer any questions or discuss any points people may have. So I'll just take the screen share and I'll move to conclusion slides.
Thank you, Natasha.
Yes, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Got the right one. Here we go. Okay, so as we've gone through, quite the extensive set of the agenda here. So now just to say a few words for the wrap up. Hopefully, one of the things is you recall at the very beginning, there was this list of learning outcomes. And I hope by going through these exercises, you've gained some foundational understanding of the dashboard, the user interface, but also what you can do through that interface. Things in terms of the concept of projects, the handling of that data within the projects, meaning upload, out, download, how to define shares, so that you can then see that there's a lot of flexibility in terms of not only working as an individual, but also working within your teams in terms of how you work with that data. And that data can include not only files that you're going to process, but also other files that you want to share between your team members. But of course, one of the big things in behind as a tool with CBrain and behind NeuroHub is there is the task launching. So you can see that if you recall that workflow that I showed earlier on, that went from data collection, data processing, analysis, and through to publishing, you can see how the projects and the way we handle data, as well as the task launching, facilitates that and takes care of a lot of the steps that would normally be very cumbersome in trying to do this manually across a number of systems. CBrain and NeuroHub, on top of that, as part of this collection, are able to abstract all those elements away so that we can have the ability to select your data and your applications and execute them in a very straightforward way. And then again, see the results there. So I hope people have been able to see these outcomes as part of their exercises that they've gone through. Just to wrap up, so I've identified those things there in terms of, as I said, what is really an integrated platform providing these wide range of capabilities all through a web interface. And we didn't even really touch on, other than making a few remarks regarding the powerful command line API or the API that's in behind. Those we'll be talking about it for future training sessions. But you can see that through this portal interface, people can do some very powerful things from data and task launching. I encourage people to take a look more at the main website, particularly, again, of course, now that you have your training accounts. Those of you who have had an account already, obviously you can continue exploring and trying things out. If you are a new person who just tried out your training account, I encourage you to sign up for an account that you can take back to your projects and your groups. And if there are any inquiries, please take a look at our documentation page, which is linked off of the main website at the header, and as of course was shown in to be right at every viewpoint of the portal and the dashboard. We also have, as part of that support, a way of reaching us. We have an email address that all inquiries can be sent to, and one of the team would then be able to take a look at any of the questions you may have or any issues they may have experiencing in using the platform. Just my second to last slide, just as a teaser, I think we've indicated various points that beyond the foundational piece that we would want to talk about in future sessions that are more advanced in nature and topic, things that I've not gone into, but we did hint at them, particularly in the overview session from last week. Is the interface between what's called the Loris data query tool, or the DQT, in terms of being able to filter out data and then have that then visible within NeuroHub and CBrain for processing. This comes in handy for large data sets in many cases, or other types of data sets where you can do that. This also leverages things, like I said, the API. So there's things that we have on our plans for that future training, and then how that ties into not only for execution of things in batch processing, like what we saw here through the web interface, but also getting into more using of JupyterHub notebooks for that interactive data exploration experience. So I think that's what's coming up in our next planning session. We haven't finalized the date yet, but we're looking at a few weeks down the line where we'll have that session coming up. But certainly that's what's in our current view of advanced concepts, but we would certainly welcome feedback, and I'll talk about that in a second, with regard to this workshop here, but also things you would like to see further of. But you can stay tuned and by following our NeuroHub events page, which is, if you go to the main website, you can see events and that'll show you when each of the training sessions get posted and available for registration. Before my last slide, I don't know if you covered the points you wanted to mention already, Pierre, but were there other things you wanted to wrap up before I mention one last slide?
Yeah, it's just about what do we do with the files that everybody has just uploaded today in the task. I was going to clean this up eventually, but maybe you guys would like to keep playing a little bit. Like you said, Brian, if anybody wants a real account, just ask for it, and it's free, and we create the accounts immediately. Those training accounts, I'm not feeling comfortable leaving them there too long for security reasons, and so I was really planning to erase everything, but maybe I will just postpone this for a few days so that if people want to keep playing a little bit with those training accounts, they can.
Great. Yeah, I agree. We want to keep them open, but for a limited duration for the purposes of the workshop. And as he said, maybe when people logged in the very first time for these training accounts, we skip through quickly just the sign up, but the sign up process is very lightweight, right? There's not a lot of things there in terms of requesting an account. So I encourage people to give it a try, then look back into their own particular workday experience. Maybe that's not a good word for some people to hear workday put together into singular from the McGill point of view, but in terms of their workspace of how they want to apply things to their particular research situation, I think there's a lot of opportunity by establishing their own account for that. Okay, thanks, Pierre. And so just my last, whoops, I get my cursor in the right spot.
I have some.
Oh, go ahead, comments. Natasha. Yeah, go ahead, Natasha.
Sergey made me realize that some of the PCV task failed because it was run on Cedar and Graham. It seems like we have some configuration issue with the container. So I will look into that, but basically it should work. Sorry about that for the ones that setting up on Cedar and Graham.
Okay, thanks, Natasha.
Just 2 users, so most.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a configuration issue. We will have a look to that.
Okay, great. So the last slide is just to, certainly, I'm very thankful for everyone's attendance, and I also am very thankful just to express my gratitude to everyone in the team here, Natasha, Verena, and everyone who's put the effort into preparing this. I think this is a great opportunity for us to showcase and also for people to look into what tool sets and the framework that's available for helping make your research life work better on a day-to-day basis. So from that point of view, we would welcome that if you could please take a look. I put it in the chat. You don't have to memorize the URL, so if you can click on that in the chat. If you could take a few minutes before you depart, just to complete the survey, just to assess your overall views of the workshop by a few clicks here and there, to give us an idea of what things you liked, what things maybe didn't work so well in your point of view, but at the same time, what things you might want to learn a little bit more about from us going forward. So I really appreciate if you could take a couple minutes to go through and give us your feedback regarding the training that we have today. We've certainly had a wait list coming into this, so while we maybe didn't have a full complement relative to the attendance number, there was certainly very good interest, and we wanted to make sure we address the requests that come in terms of learning and how to best use the platform and where we can apply it to your individual, like I said, research activities. So that being said, again, thank you for your attendance, and thank you to everyone here for the great effort in putting this in. And we'll be around, if I'm looking at the timing now, it's 4:13. I'll be around for maybe a few of us can stick around for maybe about 10, 15 more minutes max, if people want to discuss or ask any questions, any follow-up points that they may want to bring, if they have any inquiries about how this would be applied to their particular work situation, we're happy to discuss. So with that, thank you very much, everyone. So I just saw, okay, Christine's comment, was the best way to review, oops, just lost the comment, this review slides. So we'll post, yeah, we'll find, I know we shared them in the chat. we'll make those slides available. As what we'll do is probably as part of the events linking, what we've done before, we'll make the slides available for the prior the session available from the events page off the NeuroHub site. So that way people can see a copy of those. Even though, as I was mentioning earlier on, it kind of goes hand in hand with the exercises that we ask people to do, but we'll make those available. Indeed, as I said, we can put them in a Neuro project. Then you have to sign up for NeuroHub to access the slide for the workshop. Great. Well, thank you, everyone. So like I said, I'll stop sharing the screen for now. And like I said, if maybe we will be able to stick around for a few minutes if there are any questions, but if you could take, like I said, a few moments just to complete the survey, that would be very, very helpful for us.
Hi, thanks everyone for the wonderful presentation. I have a few questions regarding the NeuroHub. So is there any limitations on the space that we can utilize?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, Pierre, do you want to make a comment about, particularly in terms of where the data spaces, first of all, can reside, and then how that implies, what restrictions may or may not be with regard to capacity?
We provide space for our users. It's a private space for our users. We are okay with people, using several hundred gigabytes of it, and that's not much of a problem. If it gets to be in the terabyte size or more, contact us first. But that's for the space that we provide as a service. Not discussed in this presentation is the fact that you can also configure in NeuroHub and in CBrain what it's called a remote data provider that would connect directly to your lab. And in that case, it's whatever limit that you want to have in your own lab or in your own laptop or on your own computers. You can configure as much disk space as you want to use with the service itself. So contact us basically if it's a lot of data. A few hundred gigabytes, don't even worry about it.
Yeah. And even, for example, if you're already, for example, using, whether it's, again, as Pierre mentioned, your own lab servers, or even, for example, Compute Canada allocation space, that can be defined as a remote data provider as well. Right?
Yes, and that would be your own space on Compute Canada that CBrain would just access. And therefore, it would be yours to consume and to use the way you want.
That's awesome. So one more question. Regarding the tools, so I'm assuming that it's a ever-growing list of tools, I guess. You are adding a few more in terms of other software packages that we can use?
Yes, all the time. In fact, we are open to request. Many of our tools that we have, they basically got integrated because people ask, can you integrate this? And we say, well, just tell us more about how it works, what kind of inputs it takes. And we have several ways of doing this, but yes, that's exactly the point that a researcher can come to us and say, we'd like to have this tool integrated. It's not all that useful if it's a tool that's just, you run a few times, and it's basically the service really benefits for tools that are serial and that are planned to be launched, like thousands of instances over several months, for mass production of data. That's the ideal situation.
I understand. Thank you very much.
What type of tools are you currently running? I would say, in terms of work that come to mind, I guess, in terms of your daily routine, or maybe not necessarily daily, but that are in your particular area.
I use FreeSurfer a lot, but in my project, I'll be using ants as well. So I was just wondering if there's plan to add ants and other softwares there. Just curious.
We have ANT, but it's experimental. It's not been used for maybe several years. So we would have to go back and resurrect it and make sure that, okay, the integration still works. But yes, that's possible. And as for FreeSurfer, we do have FreeSurfer in CBrain. It's in fact the second most used tool in CBrain. We run it a lot. It's been run like thousands and thousands and thousands of times. All versions, including some of the most recent version, is all there.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, we have the 7.1.1, I guess, for FreeSurfer. And for ANT, we have ANT registration, but it's not used since a while. So we will have to look at it if you want it.
Thanks.
No, you're very welcome. And no pressure, you're the last participant, so we can see if there's other questions that you may have. We're happy to receive them. So the floor is yours.
I think most users have left. In fact,
yes.
Setu,
there's just,
you're the only
Setu
one.
is the only one that's left. Yes, that's what I meant.
Therefore,
all right. Maybe regarding Python, do you think you'll be adding some more, or if there's any facility to use Python? I figure you're using Jupyter Hub. I assume you will also have access to Python as well. But I'm just wondering, what do you think about? Is there an option to use Python pipelines?
well, you cannot just run or provide a Python script and ask CBrain to run it. Not directly, but it is possible to integrate it. Basically, we write a tiny wrapper, and as long as the Python script has, command line arguments that are well defined, and in fact, what we often ask people that have this kind of requirement is to create what's called a boutique descriptor. It's a JSON file that just describes the tool with its parameters. And then we take that, we put this in CBrain, and CBrain automatically configures a form, and it creates the form that you can fill. In fact, many of the forms that were shown in the demo today were generated with this boutiques integrator. If you have a Python script, a Python pipeline, yeah, we can run this in CBrain pretty well. There's the requirement of we have to do the integration.
Okay, that's awesome. So, and the dependencies as well, it would be part of the container?
Well, that's something else. If the tool is already installed on the supercomputer cluster, which is often it is not the case, we can run it directly, but much more often the developers or you guys will provide a container with the the Python installation and the scripts included in it, and then we launch the container with the proper arguments and the input files and everything, and we monitor everything. CBrain becomes the orchestrating layer that just runs your tool, and your tool is self-contained into a container.
That's awesome. All right, thank you very much. That was my last question, so thanks.
And actually, I'd like to add to that. Hopefully in a part 2 of this, we'll talk about using Python to access the NeuroHub API, the NeuroHub/CBrain API, so that you can launch pipelines and do data stuff, data management stuff in Python itself. So using Python as the overall composition layer, rather than Python as as something to be launched itself. So if that interests you too, that I think will be.
Yeah, that's part of it. Something in the future with regard to the API. So for example, depending on what you're doing, you can at least then leverage the projects, the data in behind, for example, that you have resident there, and then you can use that and access that through the Python side and the API side.
That sounds interesting. I'd be curious to learn more about it. Assume it's part of the other sessions, coming up sessions, I guess.
Yeah, that's on our plan for the advanced topics.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.